What if I told you the Jeep Wrangler pickup that everyone is always talking about? Well, it isn't actually the Jeep you think it is. And no, we aren't talking about horsepower here. It's not about bigger tires, and it's definitely not about how good it looks climbing a mountain. Today, we're breaking down why the perfect Jeep actually already exists, but building it was a lot more complex than just, welding a box onto the back of an SUV. For years, the idea of a Wrangler with a pickup bed has been literally impossible to ignore. I mean, take the iconic Wrangler shape, give it a cargo bed, keep the removable doors and roof, and retain that legendary off-road personality. Honestly, it sounds like the absolute perfect Jeep.
So the biggest question people always ask is, where is it? Why can't I buy one? Well, here's the thing. You can't just stretch a Wrangler and suddenly call it a better truck. The exact moment you add a bed to it, the whole vehicle's mission changes. The weight changes, the packaging changes, the practicality completely changes, and honestly, most importantly, the reason people actually buy it changes. So that's exactly why the real story here isn't, will Jeep ever build a Wrangler pickup? The real story is why Jeep went ahead and built something else entirely.
And the real surprise is actually much simpler than you might think. Jeep already has the pickup you want right there in their 2026 lineup. But it isn't called the Wrangler. It's called the Gladiator. And once you really understand why Jeep deliberately separated these two vehicles into completely distinct nameplates, you're going to look at this whole Wrangler pickup idea in a totally different way. They completely solved the problem, but they did it by giving the truck its very own dedicated identity.
Okay, so let's get into part one, the Rubicon psychology, and why this is so much more than just a trim level.
See, giving the Gladiator its own identity is absolutely crucial because the Rubicon name has become way bigger than a simple trim badge on the side of a hood. Back in 2026, Jeep announced a pretty massive milestone. Wrangler and Gladiator Rubicon models officially reached 1 million units sold worldwide. I mean, think about that for a second. 1 million Rubicons. That means Jeep isn't just selling some niche off-road package anymore, they're selling a global reputation. They've somehow successfully convinced 1 million buyers that they need, or let's be real, at least want, extreme off-road capability. When people see that word Rubicon, they already have this super vivid image in their head of extreme, unstoppable adventure.
But here is something car companies understand extremely well. People don't always buy capability because they actually need it. Sometimes they buy it just because they want to know they have it, right? Like you personally might never crawl over a giant boulder. You might never cross a remote desert trail or ever even push the button to disconnect your sway bar. But just knowing your vehicle could do those things, that creates a completely different, empowering feeling. You are basically buying the possibility of adventure. But when you introduce a pickup truck into the mix, you introduce actual truck utility. And suddenly, we have a kind of uncomfortable question to ask the buyer. How much of that capability are you actually going to use?
Which brings us to part two, cargo versus experience. Basically, the practicality problem.
Adding a pickup bed literally changes everything about how you use a vehicle. Suddenly, you've got this dedicated, dirty space out back to carry massive camping gear, heavy toolboxes, muddy recovery equipment, basically a whole lot of stuff you would absolutely never want inside the nice carpeted interior of your Wrangler. And that specific need for rugged cargo separation is exactly why the Gladiator exists. Jeep actually gives the Gladiator Rubicon some serious, undeniable numbers to back up that identity, too. We're talking towing up to 7,700 pounds and carrying up to 1,720 pounds of payload. So this isn't just a lifestyle vehicle anymore. It can actually do the heavy lifting of a true truck, all while totally retaining its trail-rated focus.
And right here is where the entire Wrangler pickup story takes a pretty big turn. Because think about it. If Jeep already has a heavy-lifting Rubicon pickup that's capable of towing thousands of pounds, why on earth would they create another one? Well, the answer isn't really about adding a truck bed at all. It's actually about protecting what makes the Wrangler so special. The Wrangler's biggest advantage has never been its cargo capacity. It's the experience. It's taking the doors off, removing the roof, dropping the windshield. It's driving through a dense forest trail with absolutely nothing between you and the environment. That pure open-air experience is the absolute DNA of the original Jeep formula.
Now, the Gladiator takes that exact philosophy and impressively combines it with actual pickup utility. Take a look at the 2026 upgrades. Alongside things like remote start, the Gladiator gets this revised storage specifically for the tools and hardware you use when removing the roof, the doors, and the windshield. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a pretty small detail, but psychologically, it's huge. By engineering specific storage for the hardware that makes the vehicle open air, Jeep isn't just telling you, hey, this is a pickup. They are physically reminding you, hey, this is still a true Jeep. Okay, so let's talk about the part people usually focus on the most, the off-road capability. To prove the Gladiator isn't just pretending to be a normal pickup wearing some aggressive body kit, we really have to look at the shared hardware here. Both of the Rubicon models utilize advanced traction management technology. They've got dedicated off-road plus modes, available electronic lockers, and massive tires up to 35 inches right from the factory. The Gladiator is engineered from the ground up around the idea that conquering the trail is a fundamental part of its purpose. It's honestly just as capable as the Wrangler the second the paved road disappears.
Moving on to Part 3, calculating the cost, or as I like to call it, capability versus lifestyle.
So we have two incredibly capable vehicles sharing the exact same DNA, but it's time to transition from fan enthusiasm to actual buyer reality. Here's where you kind of need to stop thinking like a fan and start thinking like someone who's actually writing a check. The 2026 Wrangler Rubicon starts at roughly $46,610. The Gladiator Rubicon, on the other hand, jumps up to about $53,215. That nearly $7,000 difference asks a very direct question. Are you paying for actual cargo capability that you are going to use, or are you just paying for the open-air lifestyle? Look, if you genuinely need a pickup bed, the Gladiator easily makes the argument for itself. But if you don't actually need to tow 7,700 pounds, well, the Wrangler makes a whole lot more financial sense.
Which brings us to Part 4, the final choice, experience or utility.
If you've been holding out, waiting for a true Wrangler pickup based on internet renderings and forum rumors, you really have to be careful. Jeep's official 2026 lineup clearly and deliberately separates these two vehicles. And guys, that isn't an accident. Jeep actually already solved the buyer's dilemma. People wanted the classic open-air off-road experience, Jeep kept the Wrangler. People wanted Wrangler DNA but with serious pickup capability, Jeep gave them the Gladiator. The Wrangler sells the experience, the Gladiator sells the experience plus the utility. And they boldly stamped the Rubicon badge on both of them to guarantee they are taken seriously when the pavement ends. The pickup you've been imagining already exists. Jeep just decided to give it a different name.
Now, if Jeep ever does decide to put a true Wrangler body and identity onto a dedicated pickup platform, it would probably be something completely different from what we have today. And honestly, that evolution is for sure the one worth keeping an eye on. But until then, the reality is sitting right in front of us. So I want to leave you with this thought. Based on your actual day-to-day lifestyle, would you choose the pure experience of the Wrangler Rubicon, the ultimate utility of the Gladiator Rubicon, or are you still going to hold out and wait for some internet rumor to become a true Wrangler pickup? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this helped clear up the trail for you.